security, privacy, peace of mind. Over 60 years ago, an idea was born that brought the fulfillment of these basic needs to a new level. The idea? An interchangeable core with a master-keyed system. And with this idea was born a new company, Best Lock Corporation. From the beginning, the best approach to security revolutionized the industry. For business, industry, government, and facilities of all types, the Best Lock master-keyed system provided the answer to complex security needs. Today, the Best Lock Corporation is still leading the way, with state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities, producing the highest quality locks for the widest range of applications.
At the heart of Best products is still the interchangeable core and master-keyed system. This system allows you to customize, personalize, and even expand a system. Cutting new keys and combinating a lock are basically very simple procedures. The process requires the best key combinator for cutting new keys, and the Best Lock Combinating Kit, which includes all the necessary caps, springs, and segments. In the A4 system, there are both E and F segments included in the combinating kit. E segments can be easily distinguished from F segments because they are made of a nickel-silver alloy. They also have one beveled end. The F segments are brass and flat on both ends. Also included in the combinating kit are several tools: the ejector pin, the capping pin, the capping block, and a key gauge to check the cut of the key. In addition to the combinating kit and the key combinator, you'll need a ball-peen hammer. Also, you may elect to use tweezers to pick up individual segments and caps. Before combinating the lock, it is recommended that you have all of your keys cut and marked with their series markings. It is also recommended that you stamp your core on the side with the same corresponding series markings. To cut a key, first select the key cut number for each new key from the codes provided by Best Lock Corporation. Once the key numbers have been selected, you are ready to actually cut the keys. To do this, pull the carriage of the key combinator all the way out. Rotate the locking lever counterclockwise, raising the carriage key clamp. Insert the key into the carriage so that the milling of the key blank fits into the groove of the carriage. When inserted properly, the key will fit snugly. Now turn the locking lever clockwise to lock the key into position. Make sure the carriage is pulled out all the way. The key is now in the proper position to be cut. For this example, let's assume that the operating key number you wish to cut is 5130342. To begin, align the dial lever with the first digit in the operating key number, in this case 5. Then bring the handle down with one single quick and firm stroke and release. This first stroke indexes the key into the proper position for the first cut. Since you have already set the combinator's dial lever to the first digit of the operating key number, again, bring the handle down with one single quick and firm stroke and release. Next, move the dial lever to the value for the next cut, and again, use the handle to make the stroke. Continue this procedure until all the cuts have been made. Remember to cut the 0 digit because it does make a slight cut. Pull the carriage out and turn the locking lever counterclockwise to release the key. To check that the key is correct, you can use the key gauge included in the combinating kit. Having checked your work, you are ready to combinate the core of the lock. The core is combinated by placing a specific sequence of pin segments from the combinating kit into each of the openings or barrels of the core. To determine the specific sequence of pin segments to place in each core, you'll need to refer to the organization's system code sheet supplied to you by Best Lock. Look for the control key cut number, grandmaster key cut number, master key cut number, submaster key cut number, and the individual operating key cut number for the core you wish to combinate. For the purpose of this example, we will use the following key codes. As you recall from the previous example of cutting keys, each code number represents a specific key cut. A code does not, however, represent a pin segment. The pin segments you use will be established in a step-by-step procedure, starting with the lowest code number in a barrel and working up to the largest code number in that same barrel. In this example, for barrel number 1, the control key code is 1. You need to add 6 to get the control key number, 7. The grandmaster key is 3, the master key is 5, the submaster key is 5, and the individual operating key is 5. You'll use a cumulative pin segment total, which in the A4 system is 14 in each barrel. Therefore, the code numbers we will be using will be 14, 7, 5, and 3. Please notice that each number is only used once. Even though the 5 appears in 3 of our codes, it is only used one time in deciding our pin segments. The bottom, or E pin segment, is always the lowest code number. In our example, this would be 3. Next, to get from the 3 to the 5, we would use a 2F pin segment. To proceed from the 5 to the 7, we would also use a 2F pin segment. Finally, to go from the 7 to the 14, we would utilize a 7F pin segment. Now let's quickly recap our procedure. The bottom pin is the lowest code number, 3. 3 plus 2 equals 5. 5 plus 2 equals 7. 7 plus 7 equals 14. Now let's load the first barrel. First, prepare the core. The front of the core is identified by the Best Lock logo. The number 1 barrel is always at the back of the core. To begin combinating, make sure that the barrels are all aligned. To do this, take the ejector pin and push out the control lug so that it is in the thrown position. Then place the ejector pin through the cavity in the back of the core and take the bottom plug and rotate it until it is straight up and down with the bottom of the keyway in the 6 o'clock position. When combinating the core, it is a good idea to insert the ejector pin into the number 7 barrel. This ensures that all of the barrels stay in alignment and don't rotate out of position as you combinate the core. Since you have already determined that the value for the E pin segment is 3, take a 3E pin and insert it into the number 1 barrel. E pins should always be inserted with the beveled end down. Once the pin segment is inserted, take the ejector pin and tap the pin segment down until it seats itself at the bottom of the barrel and you can see the E segment protruding into the keyway. Take a 2F segment and insert it into the number 1 barrel. The F segments are not beveled. Either of the flat ends may be inserted first. Again, use the ejector pin to make sure the segment is properly seated. Take another 2F segment, insert it into the number 1 barrel, and make sure it is seated properly. Take a 7F segment and insert it into the number 1 barrel and make sure it is seated properly. We now have a total of 14 increments in the first barrel. You are now ready to place the core into the capping block. Note that the barrels in the core need to line up with the holes in the top of the capping block. Once the core is in the capping block, place a spring into barrel number 1. Place a cap over the barrel. Place the capping tool over the cap and use the hammer to drive the cap down until it is firmly seated into place. Make sure to test your key in the core to make sure this barrel is correctly combinated. If a barrel is incorrect, you can insert the ejector pin through the ejector holes at the bottom of the core and tap out the pin segments, spring, and cap. To ensure that the segments are not mixed, throw away any ejected pins rather than trying to reuse them. Now let's combinate barrel 2. In barrel number 2, the control number is 8, the control key code +6. The grandmaster key is 4, the master key is 1, the submaster key is 1, and the individual operating key is 1. Again, remember that each number is only used once. Even though the 1 appears in 3 of our codes, it is only used one time in deciding our pin segments. Your total stack height is 14, so the code numbers are 14, 8, 4, and 1. The bottom, or E pin segment, is always the lowest code number. In our example, this would be 1. So insert a 1 E pin segment. Next, to get from the 1 to the 4, we would use a 3F pin segment. To proceed from the 4 to the 8, we would use a 4F pin segment. Finally, to go from the 8 to the 14, we would utilize a 6F pin segment. Now let's quickly recap our procedure. The bottom pin is the lowest code number, 1. 1 plus 3 equals 4. 4 plus 4 equals 8. 8 plus 6 equals 14. Please pause the tape and continue to combinate the core. Compare your pin segment values to these to make sure you have combinated your core correctly. Now let's review a few key points to keep in mind when combinating. Before combinating the core, have all of your keys cut and marked with their series markings. Also, be sure to mark your cores. When cutting your key, be sure the key is loaded into the carriage properly, and remember to make your indexing stroke. Always remember to add 6 to each digit in the control key combination before determining the values for combinating. To check your pin segment values, add all the pins in each barrel. Their sum should equal 14. Start by combinating barrel number 1 at the rear of the core. Then proceed by combinating each barrel individually until you reach the front of the core. Test your keys after combinating each individual barrel. To ensure that pin segments do not become mixed, never combinate over the kit. With experience, the process of combinating a core can become second nature to you. If at any time you have questions concerning the combinating procedures, please consult your local Best Factory representative.